Hello friends, good morning, and we are here again to continue with our topic that confronting marginalization. What are the activities our country, our government is doing in order to avoid that marginalization, in order to strengthen the weak population, in order to empower the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, Dalits, Adivasis, and so on. Today we will discuss about especially the Adivasi demands. What are their demands? And in order to protect them, the government made a law that is called 1989 Act. A 1989 Act. So in 1989 Act is important for another reason. Adivasi activists refer to it to defend their right to occupy land that was traditionally theirs. So Adivasis who had their own land, people tried to evict them, people tried to chase them out from there, and so they began to fight against to protect their land that was theirs. Traditionally it was there, they were staying there for years, and therefore nobody has got the right to chase them out, so they began to protest against it. As you read in the previous chapter, Adivasis are often unwilling to move from their land and are forcibly displaced. So, the government will say, you come out from this place, we will give you another land. We want to make mine here, we want dig here, or we want make industry here, and so on. But Adivasi, they are so much attached to their land and to their forest, they are unwilling to move. They say, we don't need anything else, we are happy here. So they are forced to send out. The government will send the police and other officers and chase them out by force. And activists have asked those who have forcibly encroached upon tribal lands should be punished under the law. So people who are working for this Adivasi people, they ask the government or they take the case to the court saying those who are doing harm to Adivasi, they should be punished. Those who are taking away their land, they should be punished. And they have also pointed to the fact that this act merely confirms what has already been promised to tribal people in the constitution, that land belongs to tribal people cannot be sold or bought by non-tribal people. So it is mentioned in the constitution that the land belonging to the tribal people cannot be bought by non-tribal people. So those who are not tribal, they cannot go and buy the land of the tribals. So the Adivasis are tribals, and so other people cannot come and buy their land. They cannot chase them out. The land belongs to them. And in cases where this has happened, the constitution guarantees the right of tribal people to repossess their land. So it is mentioned clearly in the constitution that in case anybody is trying to take away the land of the tribal people, then they have got the right to go to the court and get back, repossess their land again, get back their land again. C.K. Janu, an activist, Adivasi activist, has also pointed out that one of the violators of constitutional rights guaranteed to tribal people are governments in the various states of India. So, one of the Adivasi activists called C.K. Janu, she says, very often the violators of the Adivasi rights, who are they? It is the government of India, people of the government, state government or central government. It is the government officers who are violating the rights of the tribal people. And for it is they who allow non-tribal encroachers in the form of timber merchants, paper mills, etc. to exploit tribal land and to forcibly evict tribal people from their traditional forests in the process of declaring forests as reserve or as sanctuary. So what will the government do? Government is very cunning. In order to occupy the Adivasi land, what will they do? They will send some people there, those who are non-tribal. Maybe they are timber merchants. They will go and tell Adivasis, we are going to cut this tree. Yeah, we have got the permission from the government. Or government will say, we need some tree. We want to carry to the paper mill for making paper. We want cut trees. So that way, it is the government who is violating the law, sending the people into Adivasi land and trying to cut the trees there. Or they may take away the land also. They will say this land is for reserve forest, for keeping wild animals. So the Adivasi's lands are taken away very often by the knowledge of the government or by government officers and so on. Therefore, it is government who is responsible. It is the government who is to be punished and so on. Then she has also noted that in cases where tribals have already been evicted and cannot go back to their land, they must be compensated. So C.K. Janu says, if the land of the tribals are taken away and if that land cannot be taken back, maybe government has already used it, therefore cannot give back, then they should be given compensation, adequate compensation, not giving a little money, that is not enough. That is worth of their land. How much land is taken, and for that should be given enough compensation to the people who are affected. And that is, the government must draw up a plans and policies for them to live and work elsewhere. That means government should provide some land somewhere else. Their original land is taken away by the government, then government should provide some other places the land for them to live comfortably and to cultivate the vegetables or grain, food grain and so on. Then after all, governments spend large sums of money on building industrial or other projects on lands taken from tribals. So why should they be reluctant to spend even the very modest amounts on rehabilitating the displaced? So C.K. Jan is asking, the land is taken away from Adivasis and government is making lakhs and lakhs of projects there. So such a huge amount of money is spent there to make buildings, to make industry, to start factory and so on. But to give to the Adivasi people, government has no money, very little money they have. So there is a lot of injustice. That is why C.K. Janu was very angry that government is taking away the land of the people and not giving them any proper compensation. So that is how the situation, the act is there in order to prevent attacking the Adivasis or taking away their property and so on. And you can see a protest is going on there. Some people are trying to cut the tree and so on. So the central government passed the Scheduled Tribes, Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006. The introduction to the final act states that this act is meant to undo the historical injustices meted out to the forest dwelling population in not recognizing their rights to land and resources. And this act recognizes their right to homestead, cultivate and grazing land and non-timber forest produce. The act also points out that the rights of forest dwellers include conservation of forests and biodiversity. So people are trying to come and cut away the trees from the Adivasi land, and now the government has made a law in 2006, that is the Recognition of Forest Rights Act. So people, Adivasi people who are dwelling in the forest, they have got the right to live in that land. They have got the right to protect the surroundings, the trees and so on. So it is the Adivasi people, they will be responsible, or they will be in charge of guarding the forest, trees and so on. So government has made so many laws in order to protect the weaker sections of the society, the Dalits, the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes. So many laws are there. Very often we are not aware about this law, therefore others take advantage of it, and we just continue to remain losing all the property that we have and so on. So we must be aware about the laws that the government has made, the provisions that are made in the Indian Constitution, and we must do our level best in order to protect our rights, the rights of our own fellow human beings and so on. Now let us see the conclusion. As we can see, the existence of a right or a law or even a policy on paper does not mean that it exists in reality. So we said there are so many laws are there. Soon after India got independence, in the constitution it is written the rights of the people will be protected, especially the rights of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and so on. But we see still untouchability is practiced, and the poor people are made to work manual work, manual scavenging, doing the dirty works and so on. So it is still going on, though it is written down and nicely kept, but nobody is practicing it, no action is taken against them and so on. So it is not enough that law is written on the paper, but we have to make sure that the law is being put into use, the law is practiced, the law is enforced. Then only we can really benefit from that the law that is made. People have had to constantly work on or make efforts to translate these into principles that guide the actions of their fellow citizens or even their leaders. So people who had to constantly work on or make efforts to translate these into principles that guide the actions of their fellow citizens or even their leaders. So what the people have to do? People have to constantly work or make efforts to translate these principles into actions. So it is written and kept today, but we have to put into action, we have to put into practice. Then only it will be useful for the people. And the desire for equality, dignity and respect is not new. So everyone is human being, and therefore everyone has got the right to dignity, respect and equality. And it has existed in different forms throughout our history, as you have seen in this chapter. So people have been demanding for equality, demanding for justice, respect and so on. That was there from olden time onwards. That's why different laws came up. The laws were made and written down, only that people who are responsible, people who are in the offices, they did not take care and they did not take initiative to put it into practice. Then similarly, even in a democratic society, similar processes of struggle, writing, negotiation and organizing need to continue. So we need to continue that struggle in order to put into practice. It is not enough that law is written and kept there, it is police duty to check and so. That is not enough. We also need to be active, we also need to be alert. If we notice that anybody is maltreated, anybody's dignity is destroyed, or if anybody is not respected, then we should come forward and stand for that person. We should fight for that person in order to bring justice, in order to bring back human dignity and so on. Otherwise the law will be there, nobody will be practicing it, and our situation will go back to the olden times. 100 years ago how we were living, will be going to live in that way. So each citizen has got that right, that responsibility to be active and alert, so that the laws that are created, that will be put into practice and everyone will receive respect, honor and so on. So we come to the end of this chapter, and we have few exercises are there at the end of this, and I will send it to you in the WhatsApp group, and you can copy down and you can write, and you also have to send it to me. Still more than half of the students have not responded in writing down the notes, and I do not know what are they doing or what is wrong with them. Are they all not interested or not having facility? But anyway, even if you don't have facility, try to sit with your neighbor or you have to confront and try to learn together. So don't just ignore it, but try your level best to learn something more. Then at the end of the lesson, there is some glossary is there. A lot of new terms, new words are there, which are useful for us in order to understand the meaning of these laws and all, because these words are used in these laws, and if you don't know meaning of these words, then we will not understand what is the law also. So try to understand this. First one is assertive. An assertive person or a group is one that can express themselves and their views strongly. So, how can we call a person assertive? If that person is able to express themselves or their views very strongly. So, when you see that somebody is doing something wrong, you must be able to stand up and say, this is not true, this is the one true, this is what is the correct one. Then you can say you are an assertive person. Or if you say somebody is beating a low caste person, oh, let him beat, I have no problem, it is not my business. Then you are not asserting, you are very not assertive person. But if you try to protect that person and say you have no right to beat that person, then you are an assertive person. Then confront. Confront also somewhat similar meaning. To come face to face or to challenge someone or something. So to confront means you have to challenge a person who is doing wrong thing. In the context of this chapter, this refers to groups challenging their marginalization. So people who are affected, people who are maltreated, people whose rights are taken away, they can confront the authority, they can confront the higher caste to challenge them. That is called confrontation. Then dispossess. To possess is to own something. And to be dispossessed is to have to give up ownership or to give up authority. So dispossess means opposite of possess. Possess means having something, holding something. Dispossess means giving away or getting lost. So the land that the people were possessing, the Adivasi people, they were possessing the land, but afterwards they were depossessed. The land was taken away from them. That is depossessing. Then ostracized. We heard in the story of Ratnam that when he was fighting against the injustice that was given to his family, he was ostracized. He and his family, nobody was talking to them, nobody was helping them, and so they were kept apart, aside. So this means to exclude or banish an individual or a group. In the context of this chapter, it refers to social boycott of an individual and his family. So that family will be boycotted by others. Others will have nothing to do with them, not talking with them, not helping them, and so on. Then morally reprehensible. What is the meaning of morally reprehensible? This refers to an act that violates all norms of decency and dignity that a society believes in, and it usually refers to a heinous and a repugnant act that goes against all the values that a society has accepted. So morally reprehensible means doing something bad. Everybody knows the morality, what is good and what is not good, what is allowed and what is not allowed. So when we do something morally reprehensible or morally invaluable ones, something that is not worth mentioning, or something that is very detestable, that kind of act is called morally reprehensible. So we are supposed to do good things, morally good things. When we do bad things, when we cheat others, when we maltreat others, all these are morally reprehensible. Then policy. A stated course of action that provides direction for the future, sets goals to be achieved, or lays out principles or guidelines to be followed and acted upon. So, in the policy means a rule is written down that this is what we are going to do, or these are the things that we are expected to do, supposed to do. So things are written down very clearly about what action is to be taken in the future. Then all the things will be explained there, the principles, the guidelines, all that. Then in this chapter, we have referred to government policies, but other institutions like schools, companies also have policies. So in this lesson, we are telling the government has got certain policies, how it is going to work out different laws to help the poor people. And also everybody has got their own policy. The schools will have their own policy, the institutions, the banks will have their own policy, the courts will have their own policy, every institution will have their own policy. So here in this lesson we are talking about the policy of the government, how they are going to do the work, how they are going to establish their activity and so on. So we have come to the end of this lesson. I hope you have got some inspiration to stand for the right of the poor. So we are all benefiting or receiving the best protection of the law, and I hope that you like to others also to receive that same protection. It is not enough that my part is okay, I am happy, I have everything. Others are having or not having, I am not bothered. So then we are not having that human value. So if you allow others also to experience the same right that I am experiencing, then we can say we are responsible citizens. So that is what we want every one of you to become, a responsible citizen, not just looking for your own benefits and managing your own affairs, forgetting about the poor and the suffering, but do something for those who are suffering, people who are afflicted, people whose rights are taken away, people who are considered as slaves. Try to set them free, try to make them happy, give them their rights and so on. Then we are really working as a good citizens. So I wish all of you that you continue to live your life fully, experiencing the full freedom, and also help others to live in freedom, so that we all will be equal in our country. There will be no high class and low class, but everyone will be equal, everyone will be living a happy life, and our country will be progressing faster and faster. So that is our responsibility, and let us take a bold step. Let us be assertive, not just withdraw ourselves and live in my own house, not worried about what is happening outside, but let us be assertive for our right as well as the rights of my neighbor. That way we shall prove ourselves to be good citizens and do well for bringing equality, justice, all that good qualities in our own country, so that every person, every citizen will be able to benefit from it. So thank you for listening and have a nice day. The next class we shall begin again another chapter, and we will continue with the social and political life, and we will learn about the lesson number 9, which speaks about public facilities. You know, a lot of public facilities are there which are provided in our country, but some people have got access, some people have no access it. So we shall learn about it in the next class, how the people are suffering or how the people are enjoying. So all are not equal in our country. Let us see what it makes the difference, how some people are denied of these public facilities and so on. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day.